Greetings. This is General CJG here, coming to you with, episode 4 on the Kenobi Show, the podcast. Yep, we're tackling episode 4 of Kenobi, and this is gonna be actually not that interesting. Because this is probably the most meh episode of them all. So we'll get into why shortly. Joining me here is...
This is the Spider-Fan Maniac again.
Yep, and it will be us two for the time. So, without further ado, we shall discuss this episode. So, the basic summary of it is, as I said it's a meh episode, as in not really much to say or nothing that was not predictable, other than, I guess, a small thing or there. So, I guess there is that. What do you think, though, of this one?
I mean... my expectations weren't high, so I wasn't really disappointed.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, my expectations were kind of met. Because in the episode 3 podcast, we pretty much made the assumption that episode 4 and onwards is going to be basically Obi-Wan rescuing Leia from the Empire. And we got exactly that. And no real surprises on it. Nothing substantial, nothing that will literally make us either be shocked or surprised or even smiling or hell, even mad. No, nothing. It was just...
there are many instances where we have to think and see the scenes and say, hey, what the hell was that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are some things that definitely make no sense. But in terms of overall shock or interest factor here, yeah, this is meh. So, there is that. So, yeah. So, do you want to get it now into the episode, Doan?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the beginning is that Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's in the back of the tank, and he's basically, he is having like visions and stuff, and inside the back of the tank of his fight with Vader, and then he wakes up from the back of the tank, and he's like in a bit of a panic. He climbs out of the back of the tank, and Tala reveals they're on the planet Jabim, and Kenobi's asking about Leia, and so that happens. Then in the Inquisitorius, Leia is basically in chains, basically in a room where the third sister is pretty much interrogating her. And the third sister is pretty much saying that the Empire does not tolerate Jedi sympathizers. She also at one point claims that Obi-Wan is dead and nobody's coming for her. Yeah, like if that's going to last long. So, yeah, that's the very beginning. Then on Jabim, Tala and Kenobi are like basically discussing with this guy called Roken in order to have Kenobi be able to pretty much rescue Leia. And Roken doesn't want to help at first, but after some convincing from both Kenobi and Tala, they managed to convince Roken to pretty much let Obi-Wan go to the Inquisitorius base to rescue her. And so they pretty much, they managed to take him to there. And so, but before that, they discussed some planning on how to invade the Inquisitorius. At first, they were thinking, how about you send some T-47 airspeeders? And they say, no, not going to happen. So they basically plan of another way to go. And Tala volunteers to go with Kenobi in order to rescue Leia. And so, they put their plan in motion. And there you go. And that's literally what they do in Jabim. That's the entirety of Jabim. Yep. So, that's the beginning of this episode. So what do you think, Doan?
There is an interesting part where that character, it's Obi-Wan and Tala, calls Obi-Wan General. So, that's because the Jedis were considered generals during the Clone Wars. That's interesting. And he still calls him General.
Yeah, they used to be generals, yeah. Can I mention how disappointing Jabim was in this episode? Like, we didn't get to see jack shit other than its underground caves, and they weren't really that interesting. Like, nothing. We saw nothing. Compared.
Maybe next episode.
I mean,
or not?
maybe we'll have to see. Because in episode 3, I mean, there wasn't much. Well, there was a bit of hype of taking Kenobi to Jabim, and we see that here, but they didn't really do much with the planet. It was just there, and we didn't even see its open landscapes or from orbit, nothing. Like, it was just really, you can easily say whatever planet this is, no matter what, by just looking at its underground caves. Like, there's nothing standing out that says this is Javim. Nothing.
My 2 theories on why Jabim is there is, number 1, either to make clickbait articles so that people will watch the next episode, get more Disney Plus, or number 2, maybe they might actually get a flashback of Clone Wars era Anakin with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, and they'll show a flashback. But something makes me believe it's the first, not the latter.
Yeah. It could be, yeah. And
because the people who are making this show knows what kind of significance Jabim as a planet has in the previous continuity. And from another perspective, there is a reason why of all planets Obi-Wan has to go there. I don't think that's just there because of a reference.
Well, then again, the Grand Inquisitor was here just to tie this to Rebels in some way, and look how they treated that, so who knows? Maybe Javim is indeed there for just a reference. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Javim was a disappointment. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, so that's pretty much what I can say on that. There's not really much to mention on this beginning on the episode, other than, I guess, Leia's interaction with the third sister, but we're gonna get more of that later. So I'm reserving my full thoughts on that for a bit later. But yeah, there's not really much to mention on Javim. Just disappointing, not really much at all. It could have been any planet, to be honest. So yeah, and considering that Jabim in Disney Star Wars before this was just a random reference in the Force Awakens beginner game, yeah, there's not really much to be excited for Jabim yet, unless Episode 5 proves us wrong, but we'll have to see. So yeah. So anyway, anything else to mention on this beginning?
No.
Okay. Next, well, Kenobi and Tala are on a ship going all the way to the planet Noor. So yeah, during the journey, there is this one point where Kenobi is basically practicing his force powers, his force grip at least, with levitating a few objects, which interesting. And yeah, so there is that. He did have a quick conversation with Tala about how some things take time to heal, and Kenobi says that some things cannot be forgotten, and then Tala replies that he has to try since he cares about Leia. So there's that. Then back in the interrogation room, Reba informs Leia that the Inquisitors intercepted a transmission on Banava the previous year about a secret network known as the Path. This is basically the Path that Tala mentioned in episode 3, where basically it's this organization of sorts that help Force sensitives and other Jedi to pretty much go to Jabim in order to get new identities and be able to be smuggled so that they cannot get into trouble with the Empire or others searching for them. So that's what it is, but obviously here in this scene, Leia does not tell Reva any of that. In fact, she's pretty much just trying to not say anything, and Reva replies that if she doesn't get the answer, Leia's going to get interrogated and tortured, and yeah, they basically... Reva tries some new methods in order to get that information out there. So...
yeah, perhaps she could find new ways to motivate her.
Yep, I guess, yeah, there is that. So yeah. Meanwhile, when that happens, Tala's shuttle lands in the Inquisitor's fortress, now dressed as in her standard Imperial officer attire. So she's walking the hallways and stuff. She's questioned by a few sentries to get clearance. She submits her cylinder. The officer is like, wait, this is not your sector. And then Tal's like, do you want to take this to Darth Vader? And the officer's like, no, go on in. So she managed to be persuasive. So yeah. So once inside, she's basically in one of the computer terminals where she's basically getting into the system in order to open a door for Kenobi to get in, because Kenobi is actually underwater and he's going to get into the Inquisitorius via underwater. So she contacts Kenobi and opens a door for him, and Kenobi swims through, and there was a Stormtrooper sentry which he managed to take down, and then he's walking into the place. Meanwhile, Reva is trying to do mind probing on Leia, and Leia somehow manages to resist Reva's mind probing, and Reva says, "You're strong." I'm wondering, like, you mean strong as in mentally strong or strong in the Force? Because I'm pretty sure Paul Dameron was mentally strong in the sequels, yet Kylo Ren managed to get info from him in the sequels. So what do you think, Owen? Do you think it's actually strong in the Force?
Maybe.
This makes me wonder, if Reva knows that Leia's strong in the Force, how come they don't go after her in the next 9 years? Don't you think?
Maybe she wasn't considered important, but there are other things that bother me in the interrogation thing. It's like, first, Leia mentions that she's a princess of Alderaan, so maybe Tala should have done this. Like, how is she gonna justify this? Or how is the Empire gonna justify, trying to interrogate a princess of an entire planet and torturing her? Like, what would be their justification for this?
The only justification they have is that Leia was conspiring with Obi-Wan Kenobi. That would be the only explanation. Like, that she was hiding wanted for sensitive Jedi.
And then there's also one other thing, is like, Rick says, like, Jedi sympathizers are not known to survive well in the Empire, right? What's that?
I think so.
Then if she is a Jedi sympathizer, then how the hell did she become a senator in the future? Like, what is going on with this?
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why Obi-Wan rescuing Leia in the middle of episodes 3 and 4 of Star Wars movies was not really a good idea, because Obi-Wan and Leia having any sort of relationship in between 19 BBY and 0 BBY only makes you wonder how come the Empire did not take an interest in Leia before, and how come Leia does not remember much about Obi-Wan in episode 4.
Unless Reba didn't tell Vader about Leia sympathizing with the Jedi, but then again, why wouldn't she tell Vader or Tarkin or Palpatine? Like, why would you keep that information? Even if that's the case, it doesn't make sense.
Or if there's a security camera recording stuff when Reva's interrogating Leia, what happened to those recordings? Did Reva delete them for some reason?
Yeah, none of this actually makes any sense.
Yeah, this is dumb. Oh, so I was finishing that when Reva was talking to Leia, Leia's droid gets released. However, Reva manages to catch the droid, and she then is like saying that she used to have a droid when she was younger that was taken from her, and so that happened. Then Tala's relaying information about Leia's location to Kenobi. And then there's one point that Tala is confronted by an Imperial officer who is suspicious about her presence and urges her away to verify her identity. And then Tala leaves her comlink behind and leaving Kenobi to navigate the fortress alone. And while Tala is dealing with the officer, Kenobi eludes a patrolling secret droid and some stormtroopers by hiding inside a shaft. And then Tala manages to subdue the officer, take him down, and then she resumes her post in the computer and contacts Kenobi, which basically her talking to the comlink draws the attention of the stormtroopers, but Obi-Wan uses a mind trick to distract them, and then Tala reassures Kenobi that she had some company, but she has eliminated the threat, revealing that she has incapacitated the officer. So yeah, that goes. Yeah. So that's the next part, infiltrating the Inquisitorius. So what do you think of this?
Yeah, so this scene doesn't really make sense. It's like, number one, why is Tala talking right next to an officer? Shouldn't you not be doing that? And number two, the officer sees she's doing something suspicious, yet he doesn't bother questioning her or alerting any of the stormtroopers, nor the inquisitors, or his superior officers. Like, what is going on with this?
It would have made sense if nobody was in the room and Tala was alone, and then one officer came in there. It would have made more sense, but for some reason, the director decided to have at least two officers alongside Tala in the computer terminal. Like there was at least one officer at minimum always there, just sitting there in the computer, and he didn't have any headphones or something, unless they were like really small and we couldn't see them. But literally, like, he should have been able to listen to what happened. Hell, he should have probably even noticed the Tala might have taken down the officer or something. I don't know. Like,
yeah, these people are so incompetent. Like, how does the Empire function this long?
I don't know. I don't know about that, but yeah, it makes no sense. It makes you wonder how they survived not only 19 years, but even 4 more years, from 19 BY all the way to 4 ABY. Or hell longer, all the way to Mandalorian, because, originally in Disney Star Wars, they were supposed to, the Empire should have been destroyed by 5 ABY, but that was obviously retconned. So, yeah, that blows. So, yeah. But anyway, is there anything else to mention on this part?
I don't think so.
Okay, next, now we get into basically Riva is pretty much kind of getting frustrated in Leia not telling her anything. So basically, Riva prepares Leia to get her to be tortured. And, well, yeah, they take her to being tortured. Elsewhere, Kenobi manages to use a passing entry into a secure chamber whose doors are marked with red Imperial symbols. Ooh, so what does that mean? It means that Obi-Wan, he stumbled upon some sort of a chamber that contains corpses of fallen Jedi. A few of them that appeared in the Clone Wars 2008, and there's one that's a youngling. And then there's a few others, like, that's meant to be, this is probably the big moment this episode that is like supposed to induce shock or horror or astonishment to the audience watching this show, but to me it didn't really do much, because I kind of expected some sort of like big reveal or something, but this was like not really much. What do you think when you saw that, Dawn? Because to me it didn't do anything.
I mean, there were incidents where in the Rebels, I think it was Luminara's corpse being there to lure Jedi, so I wasn't surprised that the Empire would keep corpses of dead Jedi.
I guess as either trophies or as memorials or as a way to I guess in a way bait some Jedi or something. I think it's more for trophies.
There were incidents in Rebel episode where they kind of reanimated Luminara Dooley's dead corpse to lure in Ezra and Kanan. So maybe they're using the corpses for those purposes.
Maybe. So, yeah, there is that. But yeah, so this part didn't do much for me. So, yeah, moving on. Then we go into the stormtroopers. They're in the room fastening Leia into the torture harness. Leia's crying for help, and Riva's pretty much determined to extract information. And so, as the machine is just about to torture Leia, Kenobi senses that Leia's in danger. He asks Tal to create a distraction. And just the machine is very close to, I guess, torturing the shit out of Leia. An officer enters interrogation chamber with a message from Tala, and Riva basically has to take it. And Tala's basically discussing with Riva that she claims that the PAF insurgents operate from Florum in the Surtur system, in the Surtur sector, using a salvage business as a front. Tal advises the third sister to send Imperial force immediately to crush the network, but Reva apparently realizes that she's lying. While that conversation is happening, Kenobi pretty much shuts down the lights in the interrogation chamber, and he gets his lightsaber out and takes down both Stormtrooper sentries and frees Leia from the torture harness. Leia is relieved that Kenobi's alive and tells him that she did not tell the Empire anything. And meanwhile, Reva is still questioning how Leia and Kenobi escaped an Imperial checkpoint on Mapuso, and Tala claims she's an Imperial spy who infiltrated the path, claims that Kenobi's on floor room. So, yeah, that happens, and then Kenobi and Leia they're walking the hallways. They apparently are found by a secret droid, and the secret droid activates the alarm, and Reva pretty much orders her troops to take Tal for interrogation. And then the fortress's klaxons begin ringing. Kenobi contacts Tala via comlink, inadvertently distracting her stormtrooper captors. This allows Tala to break free and take them out with a blaster. Meanwhile, Kenobi uses his lightsaber to take out the pursuing secret droid and stormtroopers in the fortress corridors. And Kenobi and Leia flee into a tunnel, and so... yeah, and then Reva, Purge Trooper, and Stormtrooper reinforcements close in on them, and Kenobi deflects their blast, and he seals the door on their end of the tunnel, and then Kenobi is using the Force to delay the cracking window while Tala reunites with Leia. The Purge Trooper and Stormtroopers force their way to the door. Kenobi then releases the broken window, causing the tunnel to be flooded. The trio then escape to the other side of the tunnel, which they seal temporarily with the blast door. So that's basically the portion of Kenobi rescuing Leia and Tala being pretty much set free from her Imperial captors. So, yeah, what do you think of this, Zoan?
Yeah, the weird thing about this is, I don't know whether this is because Disney Plus and kid-friendly stuff, but when Obi-Wan uses his lightsaber against fucking stormtroopers, the armors, or there is no dismemberment, it does something weird like the lightsaber from Jedi Fallen Order. You only have marks and slash marks on the Stormtrooper armor, and it doesn't do anything. Why isn't Obi-Wan's armor cutting off Stormtroopers' arms and legs or something like that?
You know, I actually think there's less dismemberment here than Jedi Fallen Order. At least Jedi Fallen Order, you got all the marks and shit. In here, there's barely any lightsaber marks in the armor. Barely. There's not...
what is this? Is this the lightsaber made for Terrace Cassie or something?
Maybe. Maybe that's the case, but yeah, his lightsaber was not really going through the... Well, I mean, it did do damage, but not much. Honestly, this is a very PG-rated lightsaber slashing moment. It's not really it's not as insane as Jedi Fallen Order or hell, any other Star Wars media, I guess, that we've seen yet. So, yeah.
And the Stormtroopers are still incompetent, so they can barely shoot. Which makes me even question Obi-Wan more when he says, only Imperial Stormtrooper could shoot so precise. What the hell are you talking about, Obi-Wan? You literally saw these incompetent Stormtroopers that can't hit shit.
Granted, some people would say that, the Stormtroopers have always been incompetent at shooting, even in Episode 4, but the reason why the Stormtroopers in Episodes 4, 5, and 6 are incompetent at shooting the main characters is mostly because that's how it goes in any type of movie. The main characters are not going to die just by random fire of random troops. Doesn't happen with James Bond, doesn't happen with Bourne, or doesn't happen with any other main characters in movies. So that's just a thing that movies do. But in the case of Disney Star Wars, the Stormtroopers are noticeably dumber than they usually should be, going as far as they're shooting. Not only their shooting being stupid, but also some of their decision making being stupid. So
yeah, they're intentionally made to look stupid as possible. How are we supposed to take the Empire as the organization or their military seriously if they're run by such incompetent people?
Yeah, indeed. At least in the EU, we actually did have stormtroopers that were pretty competent and stuff. The only times they didn't seem to be too competent was when they were against the main OT cast in the OT movies, but that was it.
Stormtroopers are only incompetent when they're fighting against the important character of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or any force sensitive that is more powerful than them, any Jedi or whatever.
So, Obi-Wan saying only Imperial Stormtrooper can be so precise. What the hell are you talking about, Obi-Wan? You fought against them, 10 years ago. What makes you think these Stormtroopers are so competent?
Not to mention the way Tala frees herself, I found that to be like very I can't really buy it too much. Like the stormtroopers were literally that stupid to let her escape their grasp and her actually shoot them. Like how does that happen? Like,
and while Obi-Wan is going with a big Imperial coat, nobody seems to care about the fact that there's a kid there, and Obi-Wan is not even trying to hide her inside his coat. Like, anyone? Aren't you gonna ask why there's a little girl in the base with a suspicious-looking man trying to hide her inside his coat? No one?
That's odd indeed. But you want to know what's even more odd, though, than that? The fact that Obi-Wan now all of a sudden has several of his force powers and lightsaber proficiency. After the last episode, he got his ass absolutely demolished and kicked by Darth Vader. Like, he didn't even put up any fight at all. He got easily demolished, almost like Obi-Wan was just a regular old man with no force powers or any sort of proficiency with the lightsaber. And now in here, all of a sudden, he actually has that. Like, what? How did you get all of that in a matter of, what, a day? 2 days? Like, how did that happen?
I told you, Obi-Wan's gonna get a magical power-up for some reason.
Yep. You called it in the last podcast. Luke called it in the last podcast. And here we are. We got it. Yep. Making this episode as predictable as possible. Like, boy, that certainly is something. So, yeah. Indeed. Anything else to mention on this part?
I don't.
Okay, next. Well, we get to the hangar where Tala and Kenobi and Leia are in the main hangar. Of course, Kenobi's using the Imperial code and hiding Leia underneath, which, yeah, it's stupid. They don't seem to notice Obi-Wan with the code. So, yeah. The only way that they literally managed to get into trouble is because Reva, with several stormtroopers, literally shouts at them, and that's where they literally realize, oh shoot, these are actually fugitives. Let's aim our blasters at them. Yeah, until the third sister showed up and screamed at them. That's when everyone's like, oh shit, okay, let's shoot these people. It's like almost on cue. Like
I said, like, how are these people so incompetent?
I have no idea. So, yeah, that happened. And meanwhile, the fifth sister and the fourth sister, they're pretty much locking down the Inquisitorius, and they're pretty much blaming the third sister for mishandling the situation, and they're going after them. So, yeah, but they arrive late, because the third sister arrived first with the stormtroopers and shit. So, yeah. And then Tala, Kenobi, and Leia are trying to escape. And just they're about to get gunned down and shit, 2 T-47 snow speeders arrive. Yeah, apparently they did actually launch T-47 snow speeders, despite previously saying that they were not gonna do that. So I guess they actually did it.
But there are snow speeders. Why are they in this rainy planet?
Granted, they've always been air speeders. They've never been only for snow, even in the EU back then. So they can be used in more terrain than just the landscapes of Hoth. However, there is one thing to consider, and is that there's no speeders in here. And where's the ship? Well, granted, we later see the ship that actually brought the snow speeders in the planet, but makes you wonder, like, why didn't they just deploy the snow speeders in the first place? I guess they were waiting for the moment. I don't know. I guess because the original reason was like the snow speeders are only used for hauling sewage, but now you're actually using them as to not only take down defenses, but even have the captives escape on them. Like, what? Okay. I guess for the sake of plot, they changed their reasonings. So there's that. And then of course these snow speeders, while they're still shooting down the Imperial forces, Tala, Kenobi, and Leia, they board one of the snow speeders while basically the other snow speeder is like shooting at the other forces, even shooting at the third sister, which the third sister manages to use the force to not only to pretty much hurl all sorts of things to the air speeder, and use the lightsaber to deflect the blasters of the snow speeder. And the last thing that Reva pretty much throws at the snow speeder is an explosive, which manages to explode and destroy that snow speeder, while the other one escapes. And the fifth brother is like angry at the third sister before walking away. So Yeah, that happened. So before we get to the ending of this episode, so what do you think of that, Owen?
Yeah, the snow speeders coming out of nowhere seems convenient. And then I found it really odd to see someone blocking a laser coming out from a ship. I normally thought the lasers coming out from, speeders or something like that to be bigger than what we normally see from blasters. But it doesn't seem like that's the case because Reba blocks them with ease. So that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. What makes me wonder is if I'm curious on how strong the snow speeder's lasers are. I know they're not strong enough to go through armor of AT-ATs, but they can destroy AT-STs. So I don't know how it will fare against the lightsaber. At least in the original Star Wars timeline. So I don't know about that. Apparently they're armed with AP-11 dual laser cannons. That's what it seems. That's what they seem to be. So,
I mean, at the minimum, Reba, while trying to block the laser, should be pushed backwards. Like, if a snow speeder's laser is strong enough to destroy an AT-ST, and she's just blocking that with ease, yeah, there's seriously something wrong with this writing.
Granted, there is one comic where Darth Vader literally deflected an entire blaster shot from a tank, so I guess it's part of the course for this canon.
Right.
So there is that. So yeah. Anyway, so last part of this episode. So later, Darth Vader literally shows up and he's like mad at their sister and even force choking Reva. Like Vader saying that he wants to kill her for her repeated failures, but Reva says that she placed a tracker on the ship that escaped them and promises the Empire will soon uncover the location of the Path Network and Kenobi. And Vader is like, I seem to have underestimated you, third sister. Very well. Keep your objective going. And the Fifth Brother protests, remind them that base was almost destroyed, but Vader warns Reba that he will not tolerate any more mistakes. And Reba assures him the tracker is properly secure and they will be able to track down the Path fugitives. Okay, like, Vader, do you realize why Obi-Wan and Tala got into the base? Do you know why? Because you let them escape in the last episode, you dumb idiot! Like...
And seriously, these people are obviously... The Inquisitors are obviously not competent enough to catch the likes of Obi-Wan. So why don't you go and do it, Vader? Huh? Why don't you do it? Why are you asking these obviously less competent people to track after Obi-Wan?
Well, I mean, we know why, though, because he already did, but for some stupid reason, he let Obi-Wan escape.
Yeah, so this is something I've been constantly wondering. Why don't you do it? Why are you constantly sending minions? Huh? This would be easier if you have done it yourself.
Which he almost did, but for some stupid reason, he stopped at the last second. It's like, this is so stupid. Like, Vader's character, ever since episode 3, has been stupid. Has been done in a stupid way. Like, holy shit. Like, if episode 3 had not done what it did at the last third, this bit here in episode 4 wouldn't be so bad. But because of what happened in the last episode, in the last third, it makes Vader look like an idiot. Like a fucking idiot and a selfish prick. Like,
this type of incompetency wouldn't really happen if, the likes of Starkiller or Mara Jade were sent after Obi-Wan.
Or if competent writers were actually writing this show.
Or, I don't know, Vader, you could have done it, you fucking moron! Why did you let Obi-Wan go? You had him!
Christ. This is why we said in the previous podcast that the last third of episode 3 ruined the rest of the show, in particular ruining Vader, because it makes stuff like this, making Vader look even more stupid. Like, oh my god. So yeah, this bit of Darth Vader is stupid because what happened in the last episode. Pretty much that. So.
I mean, if you read the EU version of Vader is pretty much in the front when it comes to hunting down Jedi. In fact, his obsession is too much. But this Vader, does he even care? Does he even hate Obi-Wan?
I mean, it seems like he cares when it's convenient for the Disney Star Wars writers to have him care, but when it's not convenient for him to care, oh, they just made him do something else or something stupid that will break his character. That's the thing. Because if they actually kept their... Basically, actually did what... Actually made Vader do what he was going to do when being obsessed with Obi-Wan this timeline, he would kill him off, but because it's taking place between episodes 3 and 4, can't happen, so instead, pretty much have him, for some stupid reason, have Obi-Wan literally escape his grasp.
The EU removed this problem by having Obi-Wan not leaving Tatooine.
And also the EU made Vader pretty much never, ever, ever set foot on Tatooine himself. Like, ever.
The EU version of Vader was also not this incompetent. He was the one who was going after Jedi.
Yep.
And he was pretty merciless.
Yep, he was pretty merciless, but... this Vader, there are times we have no idea what the fuck he's doing or even thinking. So, yeah. Indeed. So, yeah. Oh, and the finale of this episode, by the way, Sully's airspeeder is picked up by the larger ship. Roken asks where is Wade, and Sully replies they are now all soldiers before sitting to grieve her comrade's passing. Tala offers her a drink while Kenobi sits beside Leia. Leia extends a hand to her rescuer, and then Leia's droid Lola beeps and glows red, meaning that the droid is the tracker. So basically, wherever the droid is where it will lead the Empire. Which makes me wonder if when they get to Jabim, is Leia going to stay there for a bit, or would she jump immediately to Alderaan? Because if she goes immediately to Alderaan, then that means that the Empire will go to Alderaan. Or what if the tracker actually? What if the ship that is going to leave Leia and Obi-Wan to their places? What if the ship goes first to Tatooine to leave Obi-Wan, and then that's where and then Vader decides to track him down to Tatooine and actually do the second Obi-Wan versus Vader duel that we've been speculating that will happen. What do you think? What do you think if that happened, Owen?
I think they're gonna waste their time for another the fifth episode. So they're gonna have Obi-Wan and Leia go on some kind of a weird adventure again, invading the Empire, and in the final episode 6. They're gonna have Leia return to Alderaan. They're gonna have Obi-Wan fight Vader and Tatooine or something.
Yeah. Though it makes you wonder, if there is gonna be a season 2 for this show, then how the fuck are they gonna do that?
I even heard rumors that there's gonna be a Reba show.
A Reb? I mean, if there's gonna be a Reba show, then... I mean, if it's standalone and it has nothing to do with Obi-Wan or Leia, and it's, I mean that will be something, but I'm wondering, how are they gonna do a season 2 of Kenobi when literally this was meant to be from start to finish a self-contained story with no more to tell afterwards? Like, how are you gonna do a season 2? Do you got the answer, to one?
They should have focused on. Maybe they'll focus Obi-Wan's life on Tatooine, finally.
Basically what they should have done since the very fucking beginning.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see. But then if the second season is what we all wanted, then what was the point of season 1?
Wasting people's time, I guess.
I guess that is the case. So, yeah. By the way, only 2 episodes seen, and we still have not seen any sort of flashbacks whatsoever to the Clone Wars. Hell, showing those corpses of the fallen Jedi, some of them being in the Clone Wars 2008, they could have maybe put a flashback of sorts of that shit, maybe, and had Obi-Wan and Anakin in their TCW outfits. Like, why haven't they done stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm seriously still wondering why Hayden Christensen is in the show in the first place. I mean, don't tell me you put Hayden Christensen in the show just to have him appear in the Vader armor.
So far, it seems to be the case. And also that vision mirage in which he appeared in episode 3. That seems to be the only times he's shown up. That's it. Like so far, it seems like wasted potential for the Hayden Christensen. Like, come on, you have him. He can still do some Clone Wars stuff. Same goes for Ewan McGregor. Like, even if you need to do a bit of CGI de-aging if necessary, but I still think he looks good enough that you could consider him, like, he hasn't aged much. Like, you could still do that flashback. And all these times that we could have had the perfect opportunity to do flashbacks of Clone Wars, we don't have them. Like, you had the perfect time. Obi-Wan doing Tatooine. He could have had any of that while he's sleeping. And there, in episode 3, when he sees the Mirage and Hayden Christensen in the hood, he could have had that. And now here, seeing the Jedi corpses, could have had that too. Hell, we could have even had an Order 66 type scenario where we see Hayden Christensen murdering the Jedi or something like that. I don't know. Like, plenty of creative ways that you could have had Hayden Christensen with his Jedi robes or even the TCW outfit doing stuff. But no, we haven't had that.
I mean, there is a reason why Reba knows Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader. So maybe they're going to show a flashback with Hayden Christensen with a young actress who plays Reba.
We'll have to see, but so far a lot of wasted potential has happened in this episode. Well, not just this episode, but the show as a whole. Like, and the ideas they've went through, especially the last episode, were terrible ideas.
Not that, yeah, the writing in this series has full of plot holes and incoherent story that makes you wonder.
Yeah, it's been terrible. Like, so, yeah. So I already said the ending of this episode. Is there anything else you want to discuss about this episode, though, one?
Yeah, no, I just want this show to,
End
already.
Me too. We'll have to wait for episode 5, the time of this recording, which is basically in less than a week. So we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah. So anyway, I guess we shall go now to the conclusion. So, Dawon, you go first.
Very terrible episode. I do not have for the future. That's it.
Okay. In my case, it's a very meh episode, but because of what happened in the previous episodes, particularly episode 3, it pretty much makes the episode not even more predictable and more bland and mediocre than typical. So it's not real. So this episode is just it's just meh. It's not really that interesting. It's pretty much exactly what we expected would happen. So there isn't really much, and it does surprise me that plenty of people online consider this the worst episode of the show. I mean, in some ways I can see why, because of it being so meh, but the last episode was the worst because it pretty much single-handedly destroyed the show with its last third. So yeah, episode 3 is the worst episode. Episode 4, maybe second place worst, who knows, we'll have to see the other 2 episodes. So yeah, but so far this episode, it's just meh, it's whatever. So yeah, not much. So yeah, with that said, this is the conclusion for the episode 4 podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars video. Bye-bye.
Bye.